Hello, thanks for joining us. It's still your signature show. I am Vin Martin Obiora Ilo. Our guest is a member of the National Assembly representing Igboeze North, Udenu Federal Constituency of Enugu State. He was a former commissioner in the government of Enugu State in charge of poverty alleviation. He was also a renowned banker who understands banking regulations, monetary policies, and the economy. My pleasure to welcome Honorable Dennis Agbo. Honorable Agbo, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, a lot of Nigerians are concerned that after that major policy decision and statement by our new president, that the dual exchange, which many Nigerians also thought was problematic, had been collapsed, that the Naira will get stronger and our economy will have some kind of breathing space. But it doesn't look like anything very positive has happened. In the contrary, the Naira has become weaker, going up to as far as 950 Naira to a dollar. What do you think this government should be doing to ensure that the Naira does not fall lower than it is now?
Okay. Once again, I want to thank you for having me on your program. The thing about exchange rate determination has very, very much to do with how much you produce in your country, how much you export, how much need of foreign exchange you have, which is about how much you import. So one, how much do we produce? Our production level in Nigeria is very low. Two, how much do you export, which is the foreign exchange earning? We export very little, and we have a monolithic economy. We export only the oil. And when we say our dependence is on oil, you ask yourself, how much then do we earn from the oil in 1 year? How much does a country like Ireland earn from agricultural produce exports? How much does do other countries far less endowed in terms of good weather, climatic conditions, fertile lands, expansive land resource in Nigeria? How much do they export? They export far more than we earn from oil. Then two, how much do we require the foreign exchange? Because it begins to play between the forces of demand and supply. How much do we need foreign exchange? The dollar, the pound sterling, the Chinese yuan, and so on. We need a lot of it. Nigeria is a consuming economy. Our appetite for consumption is so high. We don't even want to be satisfied with the things we produce in Nigeria. So our appetite is very high. So our demand for foreign exchange is very, very high. So when you demand a lot of foreign exchange and you don't supply, you don't have enough earnings of foreign exchange which constitutes your supply, naturally the price will go up. What happened in Nigeria is that everything turned to the negative when our production of agricultural produce went drastically low. Because you can say our output of oil is fixed in the short to medium term by OPEC quota. It is only in agriculture that you can tweak how much you produce. You can increase it drastically because we have the natural endowments to do so. But we have not done this. And so when we started having the crisis between the herders and the farmers, production of agricultural produce went down drastically.
Went further down?
Yes.
Because it was already down.
It was low, but it went further down. Farmers deserted the farms. At a point, we had come to the point where we were almost reaching a point of self-sufficiency in rice consumption, rice production. That is, we were curtailing the import. We were cutting off up to 500 something million US dollars used to import rice into Nigeria. We were almost cutting that off. But now we reversed again because people were becoming hungry. Prices of food items went skyrocketed. And then hunger was facing everybody. And the government had to start again allowing certain items of rice importation, a certain amount of rice importation into Nigeria. So these are the dynamics that determine the price, the exchange rate of our
dependency on foreign goods and our inability to also offer something in the international market that will yield foreign exchange for us is part of the big problem.
That is essentially the problem.
Yeah, and you're in the National Assembly, and I'm wondering, yes, I know we have all the trade agreements and trade multilateral agreements and all that. But we are in Abuja, and I've had times I went to Aminu Kano Crescent, where you have the big electronic companies. And if you stand there for an hour and you see what Nigerians are buying, or you go to some of the furniture markets in Abuja and they see the quantity of furniture that are being brought in. And I also understand that to some extent there are some restrictions on some of these goods. Are you not saying that if those of you in National Assembly make laws that will curtail this influx of luxury goods, because these are not goods that would make people live. You understand what I mean? It's luxury. It's a want. It's not a need. Is it not possible that laws can be made so that laws that would protect our local industry? Because a lot of people are into furniture production in Nigeria, but they're embattled by the cheap furniture that is coming from China, that is coming from Turkey, that is coming from every other place. Is it not possible for us to make laws that can help cut down on these things that are taking away the little foreign exchange that we have?
Okay. Now, I want to say, first of all, you mentioned about being in the National Assembly. Yes, I'm in the National Assembly, and what is going on is a huge concern to every well-meaning member of the National Assembly. It's almost a national embarrassment. That's what it is. Now, what can we do? We can do a lot. In the 8th Assembly, when this crisis between the farmers and the herders broke, I thought we can find a legislative intervention to what was going on. I inquired and I discovered that in places where people achieve very high level of animal husbandry, meat production, milk production. They don't roam their cattle. And so domestication of the animal was the way to go. But when you want to domesticate, there are certain animal husbandry transformation things, plans you have to implement. I championed the plan to transform the animal husbandry system in Nigeria with a view to curtailing and terminating the movement of the herdsmen. It had to involve the transformation of the grass production. It had to involve the fortification of feed. It had to involve the milk production, for creating the milk parlors. It had to involve artificial insemination of the animals, and so on and so forth. That's a potpourri of plans. Who were the people that will champion this? It was NAPRI, National Agricultural and Animal Production Research Institute, Zaria. I came to the house with a plan. Let us fund NAPRI with a view to transforming the animal husbandry system in Nigeria. We implemented fully the first phase of that plan. If we had continued it in the Ninth Assembly, which I didn't participate in, we would have gone very far with that. What am I saying? These herders would have been in one place. You go there, you inseminate their animals. As a matter of fact, as they roam, the meat production reduces drastically because they consume all the food they have, food nutrient, they consume it roaming. So the meat production goes down. The milk production comes to almost zero. So it does us no good. And then they go and confront the farmers, and then the farmers are chased out of the farm, and then we don't produce the crops again, and everything is just in a riotous situation. That is what the National Assembly can do. Now,
in terms of what comes into the country, for the foreign goods,
can
they make laws?
That is to increase the agricultural production by allowing the farmers to remain in their farm. That is one thing we can do to remove the crisis between them and the herdsmen. Now, in terms of bringing in what comes in, there is no reason on earth now why Nigeria should still be importing furniture in the magnitude we do it. Because at a point, certain companies, prominently Julius Berger, and certain other companies at Ogun axis, Abeokuta axis, even in the east.
In Benin.
In Benin. Benin was also a furniture hub.
In Oka?
Yes. Oka was a furniture hub. Benin was a furniture hub. Abeokuta was a furniture hub. And then Julius Berger was leading. We should have been able to put a lot of attention towards this direction to make importation of furniture unnecessary. Because right now, furniture importation is consuming a whole lot of our foreign exchange. It is absolutely unnecessary. And again, even if you want to say Turkey people have also achieved a high level of, sophistication in furniture production, why don't they come to Nigeria and set up? We have the wood materials, which is the raw material for this. We have our vast land in forests where they can go and produce the wood. You can integrate backwards. After all, a company like Dangote integrates backwards to sugarcane production, for sugar production. So that's sugarcane produce from the farm for sugar production. You can make these people to come and invest in Nigeria, employ our people, make this importation unnecessary.
What role can the National Assembly play in this?
The National Assembly we can come by way of law making, we can come by way of motion. We can make a law to adjust or amend the sectoral allocation of foreign exchange by the central bank. 2, we can also make, because right now we are back to official and parallel again. As of yesterday, because the rate of exchange of the dollar now climbing towards 1,000 naira per dollar, became very embarrassing even for the new government. And they had to move backwards again, kept the official exchange rate, which had moved from 405, it had climbed up to 750. They kept it there, but as of yesterday, it was 775.
So there's still a dichotomy.
Yes, the dichotomy is re-emerging again. Because the government cannot face the embarrassment of what is going on, allowing the merged exchange rate to climb towards 1,000 naira. It is like postponing the doomsday. But the thing they need to do urgently, and I'm happy, the government also proclaimed a state of emergency in agricultural production. I can tell you, for me personally, I think that every hand should be on deck. I have sponsored motions in this particular 10th assembly that are driving what the government is trying to do. For instance, they have proclaimed a state of emergency on agricultural production. It came from when they were trying to determine what is it that they should do as palliatives for. And then when we came and we said, look, reduce the price of food. Reduce the price of food. It is the thing driving the high inflation. And it is the thing tipping the crisis of existence in Nigeria. So bring it down by increasing food production. Allow the farmers to go back to the farm. Make sure that they are secured in the farm. The president now came out and proclaimed a state of emergency on food production, where he accepted that, look, farmers have to be secure in their farms. There has to be guaranteed offtake of output through commodity boards. That supports by way of loans and grants have to be extended to farmers, and that the farming methods have to be improved drastically through extension services, and so on and so forth. These were proclaimed and packaged in what he called the state of emergency on agricultural production. That is the way to go. And within a year, I can tell you, if everybody puts his hand on that, for instance, if I, a legislator, focuses on agricultural production for my legislative intervention, and that's what I have done. Right now, I am creating a poultry cluster within my constituency. That is what I am doing. That is my focus of attention. Apart from giving my people water and a little bit of infrastructural development, my focus of attention is entrepreneurship development and creating sustainable livelihood through agricultural production by making my constituency a poultry cluster. We intend to create at least 10,000 jobs, and then we intend to increase the poultry output, both egg production and meat production in poultry. This is what everybody should be thinking, because we are in a state of crisis. We cannot get out of this. And incidentally, now going to your question, why is it, how is it that the furniture market is booming? How is it, why is it that the electronic market is booming? It is because of corruption. We have to face it head on. There is corruption in the land. Very serious corruption is embedded in our system. Why is it that in a country where a lot of the majority of our population cannot afford three meals, in fact 2 meals in a day? Where do people get all the money with which they are buying all the things that you mentioned? Furniture and electronics. Go to the automobile market. Go along Kubwa Road. Go around Nigeria. You see how people are buying obscene cars. Okay. And so on and so forth, when people are facing a real crisis of existence.
That is why I'm actually interested in what the National Assembly, because I'm thinking that the National Assembly has to be intentional about this, understanding the emergency that we are facing. That is is an existential challenge for our country. I'm asking, in South Africa, for instance, you have Mercedes producing. I remember not too long ago when they celebrated, was it the 1 millionth car or something there? Why can't we, for instance, make a law that the electronics producers like LG, Hisense, Samsung should come to Nigeria and establish factories, especially when it gets to some kind of cost threshold that the monies that are going out. Why can't we encourage some of these entities to come here with, through making laws?
Yes, you cannot legislate people to go and die. You cannot make a law that everybody should, that LG should file out and go and die in Nigeria. You cannot make a law that Honda should file out and go and die.
How do you mean go
what
and
I'm
die
saying is that
Nigeria?
even Dunlop that was here had gone. And other companies, why are they going? The environment of doing business in Nigeria is very, very hostile and bad. And we can handle it. We can change it. That is the starting point. It's not by legislating people to death or legislating corporations to go and die, because this is a dying field.
So we need
for
to
corporations.
we need to make laws
because of corruption.
that will make,
because
that will make the environment friendly for companies to exist, not just foreign companies, including Nigerian companies.
Yes, it's hostile.
Is the National Assembly doing
Do you have rules to drive on? Do you have security?
Is the National
do you have what do you have?
No, no.
Do you have the look at our credit system? I was a banker. Look at our credit system. How much access do people have to access capital for doing business? You don't have any access. Our banks are irresponsible. The banks in Nigeria are totally irresponsible. I was a banker, but I'm embarrassed about the kind of irresponsibility of our banks. They are just milking the people and are not helping the economy at all. The banks are the facilitators. They are the energizers of economic development. Without the banks, there's very little the economy can do. But the banks are not helping, and nobody's talking about regulation. I should suggest, I should rather say that the central bank should come down on the banks very heavily. Let them become responsible. In other climes, you have banks handhold little micro companies.
Incubate.
Incubate them and then grow them. In Nigeria, it doesn't happen at all.
Yeah.
The Nigerian companies, they lend only to the people who they think are big. But some people who are small sometimes before they become big.
I want to say they lend to only people that can return the investment in 1 week, in 1 month.
And what do those people do with it? Do they produce anything that we can see? The small and medium scale enterprise sector, that's the engine of growth. If we don't encourage them, that's not where we are going.
I'm interested in what you said about the banks. And I'm coming back to the National Assembly again. For instance, I'll give you very, very, very clear instances. The foreign furniture companies operating in Nigeria are suffocating the local market. And I will explain. A guy like can't even get a loan to buy machinery to automate his production process. You see them still using the saw and all that, going all through that themselves. No,
see, I don't know how much time you have in this program. Let me cut in to say,
so that you can help me.
Let me cut in to say that there are things that this government, our government, must confront. For somebody to bring business in Nigeria is the thing that will help us to survive. So you don't you don't give the person any room of incentive. Nothing like an incentive that exists in Nigeria. They tax people to death in Nigeria here. There are multiple taxation. The government does not care.
I need to point out this
the environment
so that
is
hostile. I need to point this out so that you can look at it holistically. The point I'm making is that foreign companies come with very subsidized loans from their home countries. Suffocating our industry.
That's it. Because they have
nobody is doing the regulation.
Why?
And I'll give you an instance. A furniture company in Nigeria.
Why don't you try to make because the reverse is the case. If they are bringing these things because they have incentives in their company, create incentive for your own local people. Then you can stop them from coming.
Fine, but we don't have the kind of money they have. Let me explain.
What is the money?
Let me explain. They come in, They sell furniture for 1 million today. And because they have so much subsidy coming from their home government, the next week, they bring the cost of that same furniture down by 75%. Of course, there's no way anybody will go and buy the Nigerian furniture when they can get this one coming from outside. And I'm thinking they have unfair,
you know what we do in Nigeria? What we do in Nigeria, we leave a farmer who wants to produce rice. We leave him to the weather, to the elements. We leave him to go and face the banks. We leave him to go and buy his machinery. We leave him to go and do everything, to go and invest even in research. Somebody wants to be a rice farmer. He first of all invests in research in the high yielding varieties of rice. He produces the seedlings. He does everything. He gets nothing from his government. That is not the way to, till we realize that for somebody to accept to do business, you must support him deliberately. It's not by accident. You need to give them loans, soft loans, grants of all sorts, just to make them to produce. Because if they don't produce, we continue to die the way we are doing.
Has the power to change what you're talking about. What is the National Assembly doing?
I am a member of the National Assembly.
Yes.
Watch me and my trajectory. Watch me the way I'm coming. Watch me what I was able to do in my first tenure. These things are very, very clear to me. We have just started in the 10th. I missed the 9th Assembly. I'm in the 10th Assembly. Within this 10th Assembly, how many motions have I moved?
No, my
motions are now the agenda setter for the government right now.
How do you carry everybody? How do you carry everybody?
You can do so much at a time. You can do so much.
Because it's important that everybody
when the government came with palliatives for fuel subsidy removal, I know what I did. What did I do? I approached the speaker. I said, look, this thing is not the right way to go. Let me do you a memo. Let me do a private memo so that you let us be informed about how to get about it. He said, no, come to the house with a motion. I came to the house with a motion. That my motion today changed the agenda. The government withdrew their first offer. They withdrew it and then they went and retooled it.
Okay, we're almost running out of time, and I need to bring this to your attention and get your view on this. The way the foreign exchange process happens in Nigeria looks so unusual and awkward when you look at other climes. It's only in Nigeria that I can walk into an Agbo shop and exchange $200,000. There's no receipt, there's no documentation, there's no identification of the person that has so exchanged 200,000.
Who are the greatest patrons of the Agbo?
No, fine. So
it's government officials.
That's what I'm saying. So
they have dollarized our system, and nobody is saying anything about it.
In Nigeria today,
payments are being made by government officials in dollars in Nigeria here. So
is it right?
It's wrong.
Are we going to let it just go on?
It is wrong. But you have the executive arm, you have the legislative arm. Because the legislature can do so much, but there has to be a cooperation between the various arms of government.
Because you talked about corruption in this conversation. I'm also saying that this loose way of handling our foreign exchange has also made room for a lot of corruption. We hear that a lot of government officials, state governors, and other people, they get allocation, they round trip the money to the BDCs. If we have a legislation from the National Assembly that says that for you to change money, your identity card, what's that other one we use in banking now?
VIN, that's
the number.
No, NIN.
Your
National
name,
Identification Number.
There's the other one about
BVN.
So these are entered in a process that Honorable Agbo has exchanged $10,000, is exchanging another 50. Something that can be activated with EFCC.
That's a committee of the House we just created.
Okay, good.
That's a committee of the House called Electronic Banking Committee. My friend is the chairman. The committee is just taking off. These are the things they need to to grapple with.
Because I think we need to talk to a man like that.
Yes, you will talk to, you will speak with him. Now, what I'm saying is that if they find a way of tying each person's foreign exchange utilizations per period, using his BVN, using his NIN, using his all other forms of identifications, and then they make sure that you don't exceed this amount, and that this amount of foreign exchange cannot be given to this particular BVN.
And across the counter.
It can be done. It can be done. It can be done. But let the journey start. But I'm saying there are other things that the government also needs to be doing. They have to focus on production. Production. If we don't produce, we will die.
Okay. I agree with you that a lot of production, not just agricultural production, manufacturing.
Mainly, but it is in agriculture that we have our comparative economic advantage.
There should be a lot of manufacturing. Where, I mean, because...
It's when you win the war in primary agricultural production that you now begin to go to processing of agricultural produce, then you now go to automation, you go to build an aeroplane. When you have not fed yourself and you are importing rice, importing cold stored chicken, you cannot be talking about building a car. And the car manufacturers are looking at your roads that are impassable. They are looking at traveling in Nigeria that has become undoable because of insecurity. They are looking at all this. So let the government, as a matter of critical emergency, focus on all this, and first of all, make the environment in Nigeria conducive for people to even come and do business. Why is it that people, a company like Volkswagen, will go to Rwanda and set up and run away from Nigeria? They were already buying land and doing things, to prepare to establish in Nigeria. The environment became too hostile for them. They went to Rwanda. Rwanda, a short while ago, some years ago, had the kind of crisis we had with the herdsmen and the farmers. And they faced an existential crisis. But they solved their problem. And now they have become investment destination for everybody around the world. We can do the same thing here. But let there be sincerity. Let there be sincerity. First of all, in the election of our representatives, of those who govern us. Are they the people we voted for? Can the judiciary do us a favor and call a spade a spade? If we don't do these things, we can only dance around. If we don't bring out the best foot forward, we cannot be stewing, going around, stewing around like as if we are not a serious people.
Honorable, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's been my pleasure.
My pleasure too. Thank you.